Welcome back, learners, to our interesting course, Rudimentary Principles and Practices of Managerial Economics. I am Dr. Shantanu Saurabh, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, DAV PG College, Banaras Hindu University. In the last session, we talked about the basics of demand forecasting. Now, we'll be continuing the different aspects of demand forecasting in this session also, which is lecture number 22, module 5. We'll be trying to cover three basic topics in this session. First, factors affecting demand forecasting. Second, methods of demand forecasting for old products. And third, methods of demand forecasting for new products. Now, these are factors affecting demand forecasting. First is state of goods, which we'll be discussing, classification of goods, the level, the area, the specific elements and duration. These are factors which affect demand forecasting. So, now we will be discussing one by one all of these. Factors affecting demand forecasting. For forecasting the demand, it is imperative to consider the following factors. First being duration. The firm must first determine the duration for forecasting, for how much period it is going to forecast, which can be of short term, that is up to 1 year, or long term or very long term as per the requirement of the organization or firm. Second is the level. Forecasting must be conducted at 3 levels. This needs to be remembered. First is macro level, the broader level, the industry level and the firm level. The macro level forecasting encompasses the entire economy. The macro level in forecasting encompasses or composes of the entire economy. It talks about the entire economy. The industry level forecasting focuses on specific industry, and the firm level forecasting is done for any particular specific organization. So, it talks, the factor is level, it impacts a lot. The third is the area. The area of demand forecasting may be general or specific. For example, forecasting for edible oils is considered general. Edible oil is considered general forecasting, whereas the forecasting for groundnut oil is considered specific forecasting. So, area is also a factor which affects demand forecasting. Moving forward, the state of goods. The method of demand forecasting is chosen based on the state of the subject matter. Forecasting methods for existing or popular commodities differ from those for new commodities. It is advisable for a businessman to select a method based on the state of goods and available resources, which means state of goods is also a very important factor. Next is classification of goods. To ensure accurate demand forecasting, commodities must be classified into different categories such as consumer products, durable consumer products, perishable products based on their nature. The elements for forecasting are then determined accordingly. So, classification of goods. The next is specific element. It is crucial to consider the state of competition, risk factors, social power, etc. in the market. For example, demand forecasting for elders clothing is generally influenced by social convention, while demand for children's clothing is typically influenced by any specific color which the child or the parents prefer. Now, we will be talking about methods of demand forecasting, especially for old products which are already existing in the market. These are the different methods you are able to see: the collective opinion method, the barometric method, the market experiment method, the expert opinion method, survey of buyers' intention and statistical methods. So, one by one we will be taking up all these methods. Methods of demand forecasting for old products. The first method being the collective opinion method. It involves the salesperson of a firm making predictions about the future sales in their specific region, which means the salesperson is involved in the collective opinion method. These individual estimates are then combined or added to calculate the total estimated future sales, which means the opinion of different salespersons are added and estimate is made. Factors such as change in selling price, product designs, competition, advertisement campaigns, consumer purchasing power, employment opportunities and population are taken into account while reviewing these estimates, which means all these factors are considered while reviewing the estimates. The underlying principle of this method is that salesperson being the closest to the consumer, which means salesperson is that person who is in direct contact with the consumer or the customer and are more likely to understand changes in their need and demand, which means the salesperson is the closest person. So that salesperson is more in a position to understand the need and demand of the consumers. They can also easily identify the reasons for being changes in the consumer preferences, which means the consumer preferences are also being identified by the salesperson. Therefore, firms with competent sales personnel can use their experience to predict demand, which means people who have competent sales people, they can use this method. This method is also known as sales force opinion or the grassroots approach. However, it should be noted that this method relies on the personal opinion of sales personnel and is not at all purely scientific, which means it is based on the opinion of any individual or group of sales personnel and is not a very scientific method. The next method is barometric method. It is based on past demand for a product and aims to project into the future, which means here based on the past demand, the managers try to predict the demand in the future. Economic indicators are used to predict future business trends, which means through economic indicators, prediction of future business trends are being made, which in turn forecast the demand for the product. An index of economic indicators is created consisting of leading factors, those that move ahead of other series, and lagging factors, those that follow changes after a time lag, and coincidental factors, those that move in synchronization with economic activities. So barometric method is also very helpful. Based on the past demand, the projection for the future period is being attempted. The next method is the market experiment method. It is another method to demand forecasting. It involves conducting market studies and experiments on consumer behavior, based on consumer behavior under actual but controlled market conditions, which means it is done under actual but controlled market conditions. Various determinants of demand are intentionally changed, means with purpose change, while keeping other factors constant, and experiments are conducted to observe the impact on demand, which means different kinds of experiments are being made under controlled market and they try to analyze the change in demand. However, it should be noted that this method is also costly and time consuming. The market experiment method is costly as well as a time consuming method. Moving ahead, the expert opinion method. It involves seeking the opinions of the market expert who have explicit knowledge about the factors affecting demand, which means in this we take opinions of the market experts. The Delphi technique was developed by Olaf Helmer. Experts are given carefully designed questionnaires. Here the designed questionnaires are being given to experts and asked to forecast demand, providing suitable reasons for their predictions, which means here a proper questionnaire, a structured designed questionnaire is given to experts and their opinions are being asked for in sense of demand and with proper reasons and logics. The opinion of the experts are then shared to arrive at a conclusion, which means the opinion of the experts are shared to arrive at a final conclusion. This method is considered to be comparatively fast and cost effective. The next method is survey of buyer's intention. This method involves conducting consumer surveys to gather information about the future purchasing plans. The consumers of existing products are asked about their intended quantity of purchase. This method is widely used and is used on the assumption that buyers reflect social demand. So, in this method, we try to do a kind of survey of the buyers and try to predict the demand. It is primarily conducted in two forms, the census method and the sample method. In census method, all the potential consumers are contacted and asked about their future purchasing plans for the product, which means in census method, we consider all the potential customers. The gathered information is then aggregated to forecast the possible demand for the product, which means the data we have collected, we try to make aggregate of it and predict the demand for the future. In the sample method, only selected group of representatives, not all, only selected group of representative consumers are chosen and the demand for the product is forecasted based on the opinion of these representatives. So, in the first census method, all the potential customers or consumers were included, and in the sample method, only a selected group of representatives were considered. The method of sample method is widely employed as it is relatively easy, especially when number of consumers is large. Now, we will be talking of the next statistical methods. These are also widely used in demand forecasting, that is statistical tools or methods. These methods are scientific, reliable and unbiased, which means they are based on scientific facts and principles, they are more reliable and are unbiased. The primary statistical techniques employed for the purpose of demand forecasting are as follows. First, the trend projection method. This particular approach approves to the beneficial in cases where the organization possesses a substantial amount of historical sales data, which means when the organization has historical sales data, then only trend projection is possible. Such data is arranged in chronological order to create a time series which portrays the past trend, in which through the time series we try to understand and portray the past trend. On the basis of this past trend, it becomes possible to predict the future market trend, which means on the basis of the past trend, we try to predict the future market trend. It is assumed that the future demand for a product or service will continue to flow with the same trend as observed in the past, which means that the trend which has been followed will continue in the future also. The next method is the regression analysis. This method aims to establish a correlation between the dependent variable and the independent variable. In this, we try to find a correlation between the dependent and the independent variable. In our specific context, the quantity demanded serves as dependent variable. The quantity demanded here serves as dependent variable, while variables such as income, price of goods, price of related goods are considered as independent variables. So, the regression equation is derived assuming a linear relationship. The equation is y is equal to a plus bx. Here y represents the forecasted demand for a product or services. So, trend projection method as well as regression analysis can be used for demand forecasting. Now, moving further, we will be talking of methods of demand forecasting for new products. Till now we have discussed for the existing or the old products. Now, we will be talking of the new products, where you can see the substitute approach, the evolutionary approach, buyer's opinion polling method, expert opinion method, market test method and time series analysis method are considered. So, one by one we will be taking up all these methods. The methods for demand forecasting for new products. The first method being substitute approach. As per this method of demand forecasting, the demand for new product is calculated and determined by forecasting the demand for other existing substitute goods in the market, which means the demand for new product is calculated or determined by forecasting the demand of existing substitute goods. It is based on the premise that replacing an existing product with new one will provide the organization with valuable marketing insights. This approach often includes conducting opinion analysis or surveys to gather constructive feedback for the production department. So, first method was substitute approach. The next is evolutionary approach. It assumes that the new product will be an improvement over the one it is replacing, which means it will be better as compared to the older one. This technique for demand forecasting allows the new product to follow the same cycle as the existing products. As a result, the sales figures on the existing product serve as the default baseline. Here the baseline is taken of the already existing product for the newly launched product. For example, the color television is the advanced version of the black and white television. This method is for new product, is an advanced form of existing product. Moving ahead, the next method is buyer's opinion polling method. As per this method of demand forecasting, the prospective or potential customers of the product are contacted and their opinion is taken by giving them demonstrations here, proper demonstrations about the working, features, benefits, precautions, etc., which means a proper demonstration of the new product is given of the new product. It is also termed as survey of buyer's intention because customer directly views are surveyed in regards to the quantity to be purchased, which means there is direct interaction with the customers and based on their opinion the predictions for the future is being made. It takes into account an organization's loyal users, which means loyal users are taken into consideration based as early adopters of the new product and relies on their initial impressions. The company conducts predictive analysis on these first reviews to determine demand forecast for the full market launch. So, as you can see, this buyer and opinion polling method is a good method to understand the mentality, the approach of the consumers. Next is time series analysis method. This method uses various historical sales data, the sales data which the organization is having, that is considered so as to identify trends and patterns of consumption, which means the trends and the patterns of consumer consumption of goods are considered here, and by the different consumers what is their trend, what the pattern they are adopting. These patterns and trends can be used to forecast future demand for new product, which means with the help of time series analysis data, through the pattern, through the trend, the future predictions or the demand forecasting is being made. The next method is expert opinion method. It considers the opinion of the marketing experts and the specialists who are well versed, well knowledged by the needs, desire, taste and preference of the customers in this ever changing trend of a competitive market, which means in this the expert opinion, people who have good knowledge of the market, those people are considered. Specialists are provided necessary information about the product, which means relevant information about the product is being provided, and their insights are regarded as valuable guide, which means their opinion are considered as valuable in knowing the utilities and possible demand for the product that helps in the organization in successfully launching a new product in the market, which means with the expert opinion they try to understand the market, and with the opinion they are able to make proper projections of launching of the new product in the market. No doubts it's a very simple method, but effective demand forecasting totally depends upon the ability, judgment and experience of the professional expert through which you have included in that process, which means it is a simple method, but if the expert is logical enough, he or she can be a very important tool for projection. Next is market test method. According to this method, the new product is actually offered for sale in a small part of the market, sample market, for a particular period of time, which means a test is being conducted of the product, which means only in a small market your product is being launched. The actual demand for a new product in the entire market depends upon the observed behavior of the sample market, which means through the sample market we try to understand the behavior of the consumer and then try to forecast the future demand. As per this method, selection of the good sample market is very important, or you can say most important thing, as it becomes base. So if the base is wrong, there are more chances for faulty results, and if the base is right, there are more chances of the precise results for forecasting the demands of the new market, which means wherever you are going to test that method, the base or the sample market should be adequate enough. It involves testing of the new product in selected retail areas for a specific period of time. The response to this trail run serves as the basis for forecasting the sales of the latest development, which means whatever result they get from this market test, they consider it as a base and then move ahead accordingly. So that was all the aspects of this presentation. In this presentation, we covered 3 topics: the factors affecting demand forecasting, the methods of demand forecasting for old products, and finally we discussed methods of demand forecasting for new products. The factors affecting demand forecasting were state of goods, as we have discussed, classification of goods, level, area, specific element and duration. We have discussed all these one by one. Then we talked of methods of demand forecasting for old products, where we talked about the collective opinion method, the barometric method, the market experiment method, the expert opinion method, survey of buyers' intention and statistical methods. We discussed all these one by one, where in statistical methods we talked about the trend projection method and the regression analysis. Then we talked about methods of demand forecasting for new products, under which we talked about the substitute approach, evolutionary approach, buyer's opinion, polling method, expert's opinion method, market test method and time series analysis method. And one by one we discussed all these methods with you. So in this lecture I tried to provide you a gist for demand forecasting, and in the upcoming lectures we will be also discussing the different aspects which are left related to demand forecasting. Thank you listeners for patiently listening to our session.